And we're live. Welcome, everybody, here to the Lakers Lowdown Podcast. I'm Anthony Irwin. I should have made this a lounge, honestly. This should be a lounge. It's a lowdown because it's going to be kind of quick. It is the 4th of July. I stepped away from our 4th of July party because Harrison informed me that I'm apparently trending, which is not going to end well. There is just no possible way that that ends well. What that does mean, though, because I stepped away from the party that I'm supposed to be cooking our steak for, Jen did say that I have to tell the story of what I just experienced buying fireworks out here in Texas, which is a thing. I will be talking today, however, about the Lakers trade rumors, the latest on scenarios that the Lakers are kind of going through, and just in general, a quick little update on where things stand here on July 4th. I'll always remind you. Oh, and then also to wrap things up, because it is the 4th of July, I'm going to play a Nike commercial that is my favorite rendition of the Star Spangled Banner and is probably my favorite Nike commercial of all time. But no, I remember like July 4th, however many years ago, the Lakers traded for Steve Nash. This was before I started doing any of this stuff. And it just like stopped our party because I grew up in a big Lakers family. So Steve Nash gets traded to the Lakers. My dad like hopped out of the pool, asked me like, where are you seeing that? Who's saying this? Who's reporting this? All of this stuff. And 4th of July were always kind of different from that point on. And so I'm just kind of waiting for some kind of news. I feel like as soon as I have like one too many cocktails to go on the air, that's when we're probably going to get some kind of movement here from the Lakers. But as contractually obligated by my wife, I have to tell the story, and then I'll do so quickly, and then we'll dive on into the actual fireworks that we're hoping for from the Lakers. So I'm going to buy these fireworks or whatever, and I pull up to one of the stands that they have out there. Fireworks are a big deal out here in Texas, and they're legal in my neighborhood. I'm not breaking the law or anything like that. I didn't get anything super loud because you just never know whose dogs don't like what. But I pull up to this stand, and this lady, super nice lady, I ask her, hey, let me see what you got. And there's this one, like all of their sections are basically barren. All of the fireworks have been bought today, but there's this one section that has this one box that has like all these for sale signs pointed to it. It has all kinds of stuff that would indicate, please get this off of our shelves. I asked this lady, like, why isn't anybody buying that? And she's like, well, as you can see, it's a bunch of unicorns on the box. And most of the people who buy these fireworks are men, and they don't want to buy a box of fireworks that has unicorns on them. And I'm like, are they good? And she goes, yeah, they're one of the highest reviewed fireworks that we got this year. We were stoked to get them. We didn't notice the box. Now they aren't moving off of the shelves. Please take these off of our hands. So I was like, well, if nobody's buying them, do a little haggling or whatever. So I wind up walking away with a few of these unicorn fireworks. And the guy who's behind me in line, has a cowboy hat, black shirt in the middle of 100-degree weather and all that stuff, pants and boots and all that stuff. And he goes, I can't believe that guy just bought these damn hippie fireworks with a damn unicorn on them. And I'm like, dude, they're for my daughter. Like, I'm not buying. I'm not. I don't know why it would matter what is on the box. You don't see the box. It's going to be dark when you're putting up these fireworks. I don't see why it would matter. And he's like, you know what? Fair point. And I'm like, I know it's a fair point. I just like walk off. But that is the story that my wife wanted me to tell. That I bought unicorn fireworks from this place for like 30%, for like 70% off. And I'm happy that I got them. And Avery, when I walked through the door, absolutely lost a shit about the fact that I had unicorn fireworks. So here we go. All right, with that out of the way, let's talk about the actual fireworks that I'm sure you Lakers fans are really excited about or hoping for. whether it's unicorn or not. The place that everything kind of stands right now is that the Lakers have basically conversations going throughout the league. Most prevalently, they've been talking to the Portland Trailblazers. Those conversations have continued for a while now, off and on. They have had conversations with Brooklyn about their wings, Dorian Finney-Smith and Cam Johnson. They have had conversations with Toronto about Bruce Brown. They have had conversations with Washington about Kyle Kuzma. And there are some other names who have popped up here and there, but those are the ones that I have heard the most noise about. And then so essentially you hear that from around the league, and then you ask. I ask, to the people that I know who are closer to the Lakers, how are these talks going? How are you feeling about this or whatever? And essentially, like Portland's GM, Joe Cronin, is kind of known at this point for being a very staunch negotiator. He has his price. He doesn't move off of his price. Rob Pelinka has a very similar kind of reputation. And so those conversations have been pretty frustrating, I think, for both sides. And then in Toronto, Rob Pelinka, I've joked with a few people over the course of today that, like, I'm pretty sure Rob and Masai Ujiri just call each other up just to stare at each other, just to see who blinks first. And then neither of them blink and they will go on their ways. But that's kind of where things stand with Bruce Brown. The Raptors would like draft compensation, especially a first-round pick for Bruce Brown. The Lakers are sitting here saying, no, he's an expiring contract. He could just be a rental. Why would we give up a first-round pick for a rental? And I think that's a fair stance, honestly. We'll see where those things go here moving forward. And Rob Pelinka talked about how as everybody shows up in Vegas, those conversations do tend to go a little bit better, a little bit more productive when you're talking to those people in person. So we'll see what kind of changes of the scenery do for these talks then. In Brooklyn, what I've heard is that Brooklyn actually values Dorian Finney-Smith a little bit higher than it values Cam Johnson, which I found kind of interesting. Johnson has that bigger contract and he has a longer injury history. So maybe that's part of it, but essentially they're demanding a first round pick for Dorian Finney-Smith, and they are a little bit more lenient, I guess, as it pertains to Johnson. The issue there though, is that because Johnson has a bigger contract, means the Lakers have to send out more players for him. So you have that going on. Sean Marks is, I would say, fairly aligned with the other two GMs that I talked about, Masai Ujiri and Joe Cronin, in that, like with Marks, and this is what happens when, with the Lakers too. The rest of the league, once they smell blood in the water, once they sense that there's a little bit of weakness there, the league is really going to collectively try to take advantage of the situation. And I think for Marks, he's really kind of fighting against this rising tide of intrigue after he traded Kyle Bridges to the New York Knicks. Everybody gets the sense, oh, fire sale's on. Let's go see what we can get. Let's go see what are these like bright red tags? What's the number on them? And I think Marks at this point is kind of planting his flag or doing the you shall not pass kind of thing. When he's talking to people around the league that are calling him to make sure or to see what they could get on a discount. And he's sitting here saying, like, discount? Did you see what we got for Bridges? And I think that's kind of why those conversations have kind of stalled out a little bit, is Marks is being really stubborn about, and rightly so, right? Like, you don't want to, just because you trade one guy, now all of a sudden decide that you are going to trade everybody else at bargain bin prices. So then, the one thing that I did report in my piece for Lakers Daily, and again, Anthony Irwin, Lakers insider for Lakers Daily. The thing that I did report about the conversations that the Lakers have had so far is that I got the sense from sources there close to the Lakers that they feel like the conversations they've had have been kind of, I don't know if I'd go so far as to say that they were the most productive of the conversations that they've had to this point, but they have sensed the most interest in actual negotiation from the Washington Wizards and about Kyle Kuzma. Now, as far as like, I know people are asking like, who's going where and who's doing like who would go out from the Lakers? Like, all of these things are incredibly difficult to pin down situation by situation and depend on what the first trade would be. Because I don't think the Lakers would be done at just one trade here. So I do think that, things could line up in a way that we see a much more productive summer in the next couple weeks or so. But, also we've seen Rob Pelinka basically look at the prices that other teams are demanding of them and say, I'm good. I'm not going to pay those prices and sit out last trade deadline. Whether you believe it correct or not, that is actually how it turned out. And so like when I say, yeah, like Portland, I've heard likes Rui, I've also heard Toronto likes Rui. I think both of those teams like Rui more than, say, Washington, who drafted Rui and traded away Rui, right? But like if you can only trade Rui once, so if the Lakers trade Rui to Portland, they can't trade him to Toronto and vice versa. And I think, like Washington, I think all of these teams are cautiously interested in Gabe Vincent. I think he's a solid guard who would now have 1 year less on his contract. That makes them a little bit more intrigued. I know Portland is not interested really in guards, so that would mean that D'Angelo Russell, Gabe Vincent, not really on their radar. I've actually heard frameworks of trades where it would be both Rui and Vando going to Portland for Jerami Grant. That would be, I think, controversial and polarizing in the Lakers fan community. But yeah, like as everything's kind of stands right now, the names going out that I keep on hearing, obviously D'Angelo Russell, he's the name that I think the Lakers would most like to move. The next name is Rui because he is the player I think most teams have interest in or the most interest in. Jared Vanderbilt also come up quite a bit. Jalen Hood-Schifino has come up quite a bit. The Lakers first round picks obviously have come up a ton, but like, when you're talking about potential frameworks of all of these trades, those are the names that are being thrown out there the most in terms of who is at the center of these trades going out. And then those are also the names, obviously, that are coming back. But I do want to give one major disclaimer here before we move forward with, what the rest of the offseason could look like ideally and answering your questions and all of that. I really do want to offer up a really important disclaimer. As much as I would like to say that I have my finger on the pulse in this situation, and as much as every other newsbreaker would like to say they have their finger on the pulse of this situation with the Lakers, far more often than not, the trade that the Lakers wind up making comes out of left field. And the reason that happens is because Rob is the head of a very, very, very thin front office. And yeah, you do hear, like, by the time I hear about some of these conversations, a lot of times those conversations have kind of ceased, and it'll be, and it'll be, well, this is what we were thinking and all of that stuff. That's not the case now. The conversations I'm hearing right now are a lot more active than I have experienced in the past. But a lot of times, you hear this, well, yeah, I've heard that Rui, word around the league is that Rui was going here, and word around the league is that this team values this guy, and the Lakers see this guy with this value, whatever. And then, when the Lakers actually agree to a trade, we won't have seen it coming because the only person who knows exactly what he's going to do is Rob Pelinka. And I'm going to be upfront. The only person who has kind of direct access, in a way greater than everybody else to Rob Pelinka is Woj. Like, Rob and Woj get along really well. Rob has done Woj's pod. So a lot of times the move that eventually gets made, that gets broken by Woj, because Rob has promised Woj that he is going to text Woj what he is actually going to do. Sometimes there are obviously outliers there, right? The JJ Redick hiring, I was able to get out in front on that one, but for the most part, especially when it comes to player movement and personnel movement, the thing that I'll tell everybody and to keep in mind here, even while I would appreciate if you take my intel seriously, is that it's not the whole story. I'm doing my best to dig as much as I can to offer you as good a story and as full a story as I can possibly offer. But I also have to be transparent with you and also note market trends here. And far more often than not, the type of trade that the Lakers eventually and actually make, we don't necessarily see coming in the same way. All right. That I think just about wraps things up for what I wanted to talk about. We do not have any. Oh no, we do have super. Why is that? Why is it not showing me super comments as they come in? But all right, we do have super comments, which means fuck Boston! A particularly patriotic fuck Boston. All right, so let's go with Vinny Jaz, who starts us off with to have or gain the taxpayer mid-level exception of $5.2 million. Do we just have to be under 189 mil or closer to 183 or so? Also, any update on if you're allowed to make a move before July 6th, before Bron signs? It doesn't have to be like LeBron doesn't have to sign on July 6th. And one thing I was told, to keep in mind here is that LeBron's contract really doesn't really change as much. His cap hold is what his cap hold is. And what he's eventually going to sign for is very close to that cap hold anyway. The person whose deal kind of would throw things out of whack would actually be Max Christie, who is signing for about $6 million per year over his current cap hold. So the timing of Christie's signing is a little bit more pertinent to the situation. The anticipation is that Christie is not going to be playing in this year's Summer League anyway, so there's no real rush to sign him to that contract. So the Lakers will be able to be flexible here on this front so that they can take advantage of timing things to line everything up. The other thing, as it pertains to aprons to keep in mind here, I was reminded by somebody close to the Lakers again on this front, is that the way that these aprons work is that you can negotiate however you want to negotiate. It's not like the trade machine where like you go on Fanspo or you go on Spotrac or whichever one you use, and they'll say, on Spotracs, like you literally cannot click a second name because the Lakers are listed as a second apron team. That's not how these negotiations go. What matters for these aprons is where you wind up after the negotiation. So if the Lakers make a deal that cuts enough salary that they are able to slide under the second apron mark, and it doesn't matter how far under the second apron you wind up, like you are now, if it puts you under the second apron, you are now a first apron team. It's not that like you can't, it doesn't, these aprons don't require you to negotiate as a second apron team just because you currently reside above the second apron. And the other thing here to also keep in mind is that the Lakers are not either apron team right now because Max Christie hasn't signed his deal and because LeBron James hasn't signed his deal yet. No, actually, I take that back. I think they might be over the first apron right now. So essentially what the Lakers could do if they currently reside above the first apron is they can use that $5.2 million player exception, taxpayer mid-level exception, and then see where that puts them. And then with their next series of trades, get that much underneath the second apron so that they can now execute all of these trades. And by the end of this offseason, sit under the second apron. I hate all of this apron talk. Like, I'm really considering, I'm about to go barbecue. I have like a chef's apron that I wear when I barbecue. I'm thinking about not wearing it and just kind of like completely boycotting aprons, because all of this apron talk sucks. It just really, really does. All right. The next question that we have here comes from Daniel Hernandez, who writes, do you think the Lakers will make a trade by Saturday? And if so, for who? I know Saturday is the deadline that everybody's talking about because of when contracts can be signed and stuff like that. There is a little bit of urgency here with the Lakers and LeBron, because I think LeBron is going to want his contract done before he starts training with the Team USA camp and gets ready to go play in the Olympics. So there you do have some bit of a deadline there. But I think what I think you're far more likely to see is movement centered around Vegas Summer League. That is, I think, when you'll probably hear a bunch of noise over the next week or so as we approach Summer League. But I think Rob is really looking forward to talking to people in person and executing trades then. All right. The next question here comes from Michael Logan, who asks, is Kessler a real option? Which forward trade? I'm just going to answer the first one because the second part of that question doesn't make any sense to me. Is Kessler an option? Yeah, but you're going to have to pay up. They like him a lot there in Utah. I know that they just drafted Filipowski, and I know that they currently employ Lauri Markkanen, but they are they are in active trade talks throughout the league with Markkanen. The reports out there is that the Golden State Warriors have a deal on the table for Markkanen, and that the San Antonio Spurs have a deal on the table for Markkanen. And if you trade Markkanen and you trade Kessler, now all of a sudden you don't have any centers whatsoever. And I know that this is the kind of draft where it makes sense to have a really, really bad team. So maybe that plays a role here, but Kessler isn't going to be cheap. And now I will say I saw Jovan reported for The Athletic that the Lakers and Utah have been in conversations. That has been true since the moment D'Angelo Russell opted into his current contract. So, and we know that Rob and Danny Ainge have made trades together in the past. So I would still keep an eye on Utah here moving forward as well. All right, I'm going to, let's see. Usually with these super comments, there's like a whole different category here that I can just kind of scroll right to. All right. Jerry Soriano, your lender for life. That's solid marketing there. That's like a live read that you just got. Ben Simmons at center could be the steal we need. At his current contract, I don't think the Lakers are going to be all that interested. I saw a report just today that that nobody is interested in Ben Simmons. Nobody knows whether or not he actually wants to play basketball is the problem. He's great at those off-season workout videos and all of that, but nobody knows for certain whether or not he's actually going to stick around beyond this current contract. He's made plenty of money, and if he doesn't love the sport all that much, and if this, because this sport has left him kind of mangled, a lot of people could just see him walking away from it altogether. All right, the next one says, do you know who in the front office said JJ could be the next Pat Riley? Pat Riley had Jerry West as his GM. You know what? Like, it's a combination of a whole bunch of people. If I had to narrow down who I could see leaking that, I think it would probably be Rob. I think Rob loves telling a story, and he loves selling things as a story. And I could totally see him kind of texting to somebody, look where Pat Riley came from, and look where I could totally see that. That's where I would probably put my money on. Even and that's incredibly unfair expectations to place on JJ Redick. I get boards for days asks, do you see Gary Trent Jr. being an option for us? Yeah, I do. His market has really kind of shriveled up and dried up. And I when that kind of thing happens, people wind up taking kind of gambles on themselves type deals. And for Gary Trent Jr., the Lakers don't have a shooting guard, like a veteran shooting guard that is going to start on day one. So if the Lakers clear enough roster spots and they approach Gary Trent Jr. and let's say they don't trade for Bruce Brown, and they approach Gary Trent Jr. and say, hey, look, all we can offer is a $5.2 million trade taxpayer mid-level exception. You want to take that? It's better than a minimum. Then maybe that's how that goes. But the issue there obviously is that Gary Trent Jr. and Austin Reeves as your backcourt defensively presents a lot of the same issues, even though they fit better offensively than I think D'Lo and Austin did. You still have some of those same defensive concerns. Man. Apologies for that. The stupid mouse, man. That one was user error. That one I will say was my fault. All right, the next one that we got here from Ali Rizvi. Your prediction for trades, appreciate everything. All right, I'm not going to say this is a prediction because predicting what the Lakers are going to do is a great way to get myself in trouble. But I think my ideal offseason from here on out would be trading Rui and Rui and Gabe for Bruce Brown, and Rui, Gabe, and a minimum so you can cut some salary and open a roster spot for Bruce Brown. No picks in that trade. And then I would send Vando, JHS, and another minimum contract. And I think that gets you to what Kuz is making this year. And I would trade for Kuz. And then you would go into next season with Austin. And now you would give up a first rounder, probably a couple seconds in that trade as well. And now you go into next year with Austin, Bruce Brown, Kuz, LeBron, and AD as your kind of best five lineup. That's kind of the direction I would probably go in there. But, the issue there, though, is that, like, now who's your wing coming off of the bench? That doesn't feel great. And Kuzma at the 3 wasn't always the easiest fit the last time he was there too. But the issue is that, like, a lot of the moves that the Lakers, it would be D'Lo. D'Lo would go. It wouldn't be Vando. It wouldn't be Vando going to the Wizards. It would be D'Lo going to the Wizards, seeing as they're probably going to lose Tyus Jones too. So it'd be D'Lo straight up, plus the first, contract wise, D'Lo and a minimum, so you're able to cut some money. A first round pick, a couple second round picks for Kuz, and then you would trade Rui and Gabe and JHS and maybe a minimum if you want to do that too, for Bruce Brown. And then you go into next year with that starting lineup. You have Vando coming off of your bench as your kind of defensive wing. And then you also have access to your $5.2 million taxpayer mid-level exception, where you can go with Gary Trent Jr. there. You can go in a few directions for that one there too. And now the starred one comes up, and that's how you can kind of, I think that would be a very productive offseason. If they're able to do that, I'll walk a lot back of my offseason criticism to this point. Come on. All right. The next one here, man, we got 3 more. Vinny Jaj again. So the 5.2 gets added to our cap space. So we have to be at 183 to be safer than and below the 189. Yeah. So like once you sign the 5.2 million, you are literally hard capped under the second apron. But yeah, I see the point that you're making there. I would just say that they would do their work ahead of time and figure, like, if you, it's basically once you move, because they're barely above, or yeah, as things stand, like, and LeBron has said that he's willing to take about a million less or so to get under the luxury tax, if the not the luxury tax, but the second apron, if the Lakers are up against it as well. But yeah, like once you use that $5.2 million trade except, or the taxpayer mid-level exception, you can you now have to sit under, it's like $185.6 million that the Lakers would have to be under. So yeah, if you're gonna like, I see what you're saying, that in order to use it, the Lakers, after all of their trades, would have to be 5.2 million at least, or at most $5.2 million under that number as well. And you can always use partial amounts of that number so that you can stay under the second apron as well. So Vinny, I get your question. All right, Amon Brar, is there any update on DeMar DeRozan? No, not really. He and Miami had some talks, according to the reports out there. And according to those reports, he wanted more than Miami was willing to offer. The same, I think, can be said about the Lakers, where, I know Lakers fans were really hoping he would take the non-taxpayer mid-level exception, which the Lakers would have had to get under the first apron to be able to offer. That would have required a big pay cut from LeBron. And so the market went from, no, I don't want the non-taxpayer mid-level exception, to, well, shit, what are you going to actually accept here? I don't think bridges are burned with Chicago. And, I think if he absolutely has to, maybe he re-signs there for the number he's more comfortable with. Maybe he signs an expiring contract to be able to re-enter the market again next season. But he's getting old, and it's tough for these teams to do a whole bunch of moving and cap management stuff in order to make room for a 35-year-old shooting guard who doesn't shoot threes or really play defense anymore. These things happen. Sometimes these guys' markets dry up faster than they anticipate, and either they kind of adapt their game to stay in the league, or you're out of it. And we saw that with Carmelo Anthony. He was out of the league for a little bit until he realized, I guess I'm not starting anymore. And maybe DeMar DeRozan kind of deals with this market as it is right now, and then kind of tailors his game more towards the way that teams want to play. Tully, please. Buddy chose Golden State over LA for the chance to win. That is from Shams. Look, I know that they lost Klay Thompson, but they're probably still having a better offseason than the Lakers are right now. I think a lot of players and certainly their agents kind of look at the situation where the Lakers, how long did it take for them to hire assistant coaches? How, based on what would you say that their searches for coaches have been all that great? It's just not a very, like, the Lakers' reputation around the league is really, really bad right now. So part of it is, how well can the Lakers compete to win a championship now? But part of it also is like, can the Lakers get their shit together? And I think that's part of the math that some of these players are doing. I saw that the Lakers, according to that report, were interested in Buddy Hield. The issue there was that I don't think Buddy Hield is the kind of player that LeBron would have done taken a big pay cut in order to fit in the Lakers cap spot. So it kind of limited how they were able to go about getting him. So I think that's a bigger factor here too. But I don't think we can continue to just ignore all of the noise here when people and reporters and agents and players let it be known that they have questions about the way that the Lakers are run, because we all should have questions about how the Lakers are run. All right. That I think is going to do it here in terms of answering your guys' questions. It is the 4th of July. It is an occasion where I would like to play a video that like I said, it's my favorite Nike commercial of all time. It's a commercial that they made in preparation for the 2008 Redeem team. Kobe was on, LeBron was on. I think Dwight was on that team too, if I'm not mistaken. That was just that whole experience, watching that team, rooting for that team. That is like legitimately one of my favorite basketball teams of all time. That 2008 gold medal game against Spain, I think, should go down as one of the best basketball games ever played. And then the way that all of the best players in the world kind of step back and let Kobe take care of business down the stretch was also really awesome for those of us Lakers fans who were like telling everybody, please, players are telling you how great Kobe is. Stop it, you nerds, telling us how Kobe doesn't shoot enough threes. Like, Kobe is still really, really good. Kobe is still great. And all of the best players in the world kind of stepped back, said, Kobe, take us home. And he did. And I thought that was great. We did get one more. So Raymond Serrano asks, when predicting JJ, are they scared of a Jay Haley situation? Jack Haley? I don't know. I don't understand the question. I'm sorry, Raymond, but when I'm predicting how things are going to go for JJ, I'm really nervous about the JJ Redick thing and the timing of it. I think eventually he's going to be a good head coach. I'm just concerned that he's not going to be a good enough head coach in his first couple seasons while the Lakers are trying to win a championship with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. But all right, I'm going to get out of the way here. I'm going to play this commercial and it'll send us out of here. Have a great rest of your holiday. Please be safe out there. If you're going to a 4th of July party tonight and you have a few drinks, call an Uber, please. Please don't risk your life or the lives of everybody else in the car, as well as everybody else on the road. Please be safe out there. And have a great rest of your holiday. I will be back tomorrow to break down anything that goes on between now and then. But I do really appreciate you guys somehow getting me trending. That's insane. Like, it was absolutely insane. I told Jen, hey, I'm trending. And she's like, what did you do? Or no, she saw Harrison tweet and she was like, Harrison says you're trending. Why? What did you do? And I said, well, I don't know. I don't know what I did. And this is what's going on. There are some fake reports out there that I don't have time to go in and search out and all that stuff. If you see it, just call it fake or whatever. But no, have a great rest of your holidays. I missed a question. So just really quickly, Bajaro 3, do the Lakers want JHS to win the backup point guard spot? I don't think JHS is going to be on the roster next year. I think he'll be in some trade. If he is on the roster, then yeah, I think they would like for him to get like real backup minutes and all that stuff. But as it stands right now, I think it's probably a little bit more likely he isn't on the team. All right, everybody, have a great 4th. Please be safe, and I'll talk to you all tomorrow.